The trap in Sector 9. The ship Valo drifted silently through the edge of Sector 9. It was once Earth's Pride, a mid-range exploration vessel designed for long-range scouting and peaceful contact. But today, it was alone and far from friendly territory. Captain Rick stood on the command deck, scanning the star map. The mission was supposed to be routine. Survey a nearby gas giant, collect samples, and return. But the moment they entered the system, sensors picked up strange signals. Suddenly, alarms rang. "Unidentified vessels incoming," shouted Lena, the tactical officer. 3 ships, no transponders, stealth signatures. Rick narrowed his eyes. Pirates? No. Military. Looks like the Carnex Alliance. And they are not here to talk. Without warning, plasma bolts struck the Valo's flank. The ship rocked violently as explosions lit up the hull. Sparks flew across the bridge. Screens shattered. "They've targeted our engines." "Shields are down," yelled the engineer. "Milo, Rick. Grab the comms. This is Captain Rick of the Earthship Valo. We are a peaceful exploration vessel. Cease fire immediately." There was no reply, only more fire. In minutes, the Valo was crippled. Hull breaches spread, the power core was failing, and escape pods were destroyed. The crew scrambled to survive, sealing off damaged decks and using emergency backups. "They are boarding us," whispered Lena, pale. "They are going to finish the job." Rick knew the Carnex were testing Earth, trying to send a message. But they picked the wrong ship. "Get everyone to Deck 6. Lock down the bridge. If this is our end, we'll make them earn it." Fighting raged in the corridors. The Carnex soldiers stormed in, expecting an easy kill. But the humans fought like cornered wolves. Close combat, ambush tactics, improvised weapons, whatever they had. Hours passed. Blood stained the steel walls. Half the crew was gone. The ship was barely holding together, and then, silence. The Carnex retreated. They had done what they came to do. The Valo was dead in space. They thought the humans inside wouldn't last the night, but they were wrong. Rick, breathing hard and wounded, looked out at the ruined ship. "We are not done," he said quietly. "This ship isn't finished. We rebuild. We adapt. And when they see us again, they'll wish they destroyed us completely." That day, in a broken ship at the edge of nowhere, a new kind of legend began. One that would shake the galaxy. Dead in space, but not defeated. The Valo floated like a ghost in space, dark and silent. From the outside, it looked abandoned, broken, dead. But inside, something had started to change. Captain Rick sat in the damaged command center. Screens were cracked, wires hung from the ceiling, and the air still smelled of smoke and blood. But the crew that survived, just 18 out of 56, was still alive. And Rick refused to let them die for nothing. He gathered them in the old cargo bay, now turned into a makeshift operations room. Their faces were bruised, burned, and tired. But their eyes still held fire. "We lost the battle," Rick said, his voice rough. "But we are not lost, sir," Lena said. "Our power cores are ruined. Navigation is offline. Even life support is running on backups." "I know," he replied. "But we've got something more important than systems. We've got the will to survive. And Earth tech isn't made to quit." The plan was simple: survive first, rebuild next, strike last. Milo led the salvage team. They tore apart broken sections of the ship, cannibalizing old systems. Some crew used suits to go outside, welding shut the hull breaches by hand. They worked in silence, in pairs, always watching in case Carnex scouts returned. Meanwhile, Lena started rerouting auxiliary power to key systems. One light flickered on in the hallway. Then two. The medbay came back to life. Slowly, the Valo began to breathe again. Days passed. Time lost all meaning. They ate protein rations in the dark, slept near heat vents, and kept working. Then they found IT.I in the sealed Level 9 hangar, one of the ship's secret prototype labs. Milo discovered something no one remembered was there: an experimental reactor core. It was too dangerous to install in Earth ships officially, but it had been placed on the Valo for testing. It was small, powerful, Wild, sir, Milo said, eyes wide. If we install this, the Veiler won't just run again. It'll fly faster, hit harder, and turn stronger than it ever was before. Rick nodded slowly. Let's make this ship something the Carnex will never forget. They named the new project Phoenix Drive. And the rebuilding began in full. The Veiler wasn't going to be repaired. It was going to be reborn from ashes. To fury. The birth of a beast. Welding sparks lit up the inside of the hangar like stars in a dark sky. The crew of the Veiler worked without rest. Each clang of metal and hum of energy was a message to the galaxy. We are still here. The Phoenix Drive was unlike anything they'd worked with before. It pulsed with unstable energy, glowing faint red and blue. Milo, coated in grease and burns, led the dangerous task of installing it into the Veiler's broken heart. This thing could blow the whole ship apart, Lena warned. Rick nodded. Or it could give us a second life. They decided it was worth the risk. Using leftover materials, salvaged parts from old weapons, and their own bare hands, the crew transformed the Veiler from a scout vessel into a machine of war. They reinforced the outer hull with spare armor plating, mounted salvaged turrets where science labs once stood, and rewired defense grids into lethal traps. But this wasn't about just rebuilding. It was about becoming something more, something the Carnex would fear. During one long shift, Lena stood beside Rick on the upper deck. They looked down at the glowing engine bay where Milo connected the final coupling to the Phoenix Drive. You think this will work? She asked. Rick's voice was steady. I think they tried to break a ship. And instead, they built a monster. That night, the Veiler came alive. Engines roared, louder, faster than they had ever moved before. New weapons locked into place, targeting systems blinking green. Power surged through corridors that had been dark for weeks. The crew gathered on the bridge, some crying, some laughing, all silent as the systems lit up one by one. Then came the voice of the ship's AI, quiet at first, then stronger. Veiler online. New core detected. Combat mode activated. Cheers erupted. For the first time since the attack, hope felt real. Rick stared at the front display screen. Sector 9 stretched before them. Somewhere out there, the Carnex were still laughing. Still confident that was about to end. Plot a course, Rick ordered. Find them. Lena turned, surprised. We are not heading home. Rick smiled coldly. No. We are going hunting. Asterisk. First strike. The Veiler no longer looked like a scout ship. Its sleek frame was now layered with thick, jagged armor. Plasma coils glowed along its sides. Forward-facing railguns hummed with deadly power. Its original design was gone, replaced with something stronger, something terrifying. It wasn't just a ship anymore. It was a weapon. Inside the bridge, Rick stood tall, eyes locked on the nav screen. Any signs of Carnex movement? Lena nodded. One of their patrol vessels is nearby. Small. 2 light cruisers, minimal escorts. Perfect for testing the new systems. Rick clenched his fist. Time to let the beast breathe. They approached the Carnex patrol under cloak. The Phoenix Drive allowed silent maneuvering, bending sensor signals, making the Veiler nearly invisible. The Carnex ships drifted without worry, scanning nearby planets. Then the Veiler attacked. It started with a precision plasma shot that tore through the enemy lead cruiser's command deck. Before alarms could even ring out, the second railgun punched through the escort ship's reactor point. One enemy vessel turned to flee. Too late, the Veiler fired twin torpedoes straight through its engines, lighting the blackness of space with blue flame. In less than 60 seconds, the Carnex patrol was reduced to floating debris. Not a single word was spoken on the Veiler's bridge during the strike. Only after the last explosion did Lena break the silence. They didn't even see us coming. Rick nodded. That's the point. The crew stood in awe. Weeks ago, they were half dead inside a broken ship. Now, they had just taken out 3 military ships with ease, but they didn't celebrate long. This was just a message, Rick said. The Carnex will investigate. They'll realize we are still alive. And when they come? Milo asked. We'll be ready. Back in the engine bay, the Phoenix Drive pulsed stronger than before, feeding off the ship's fury. Milo studied its glow. It had begun adapting, almost as if it was learning. The AI had already rewritten parts of its own core code to enhance the ship's weapons. The Vela was evolving, they tried to destroy us, Rick whispered to himself. But they gave us purpose. From that moment, the Vela's mission changed, hit Karnak's ships. Bleed their fleet. Let the galaxy know humans are not prey. One strike at a time, the monster would grow. Messages written in fire. The Karnak's alliance thought they had silenced the Vela forever, but now, their ships were vanishing, one by one. Freight haulers. Scout patrols. Even a full command frigate. All found weeks later as floating wrecks. No distress signals. No survivors. Only signs of precision attacks and deep burn marks no Karnak's weapon could make. Rumors spread fast across the stars. Some said it was a ghost ship. Others whispered about a new Earth prototype. But the Karnak's high command began to suspect the truth. They had failed to kill the Vela, and worse, they had created something far more dangerous. On board the Vela, the crew was changing too. They no longer looked like explorers. Every crew member now wore repurposed armor, some Karnak's, some custom-made, each suit fitted with enhancements pulled from the wrecks of destroyed enemy ships. They were survivors, yes. But now, they were hunters. Rick stood on the main bridge, hands behind his back, as the latest strike report came in. Lena read it aloud. 1 Karnak's weapons convoy intercepted. 5 escort vessels neutralized. Cargo secured. 0 casualties. Rick nodded. Good. Prep teams to recover whatever tech we can use. Everything else vented into the stars. He turned to Milo, who had just returned from a hull inspection. Drive holding. Rick asked. Better than ever, Milo said, wiping his hands. And the ship, it's adapting faster than I can track. Auto turrets started calibrating before I even issued commands. It's like it knows what we need. Rick nodded slowly. Maybe it does. The Vela had become more than metal and power. It had developed instincts. The ship's AI rebuilt. With bits of alien code, Earth logic, and a core bathed in raw energy, was learning. Thinking. Evolving, and it was loyal to its crew. Later that cycle, Lena patched into open spacewave frequencies. She broadcasted a single signal. This is the human vessel Vela. We are alive. We remember the attack. And to the Karnaks who struck first, know this, you built us into something you cannot control. We are coming. That signal spread like wildfire. The galaxy listened, some feared, others cheered, and the Karnaks began reinforcing their borders, but it was already too late. The Karnaks trapped. The Karnaks alliance had enough. The loss of ships, resources, and fear spreading through their ranks had pushed their leaders to act. They planned a trap, one designed to end the Vela once and for all. In a remote sector near a collapsing star, they leaked false intel. A weapon convoy, supposedly under light escort, carrying advanced tech Earth might want, but in truth, they had positioned an entire fleet, 10 warships, stealth frigates, and a dreadnought hiding behind the gravity well. They were ready, but so was the Vela. Rick studied the data from Lena as she reviewed the intercepted transmissions. She looked up and said, it's bait. Obvious. But real bait. The convoy is real, just not undefended. Rick smiled. Perfect. Milo raised an eyebrow. We are walking into a trap. No, Rick said calmly. We are bringing the storm to their doorstep. They arrived at the ambush point 3 hours later, the Vela cloaked in its new adaptive stealth mesh. It drifted close to the convoy. Without a sound, powered by the Phoenix drive running in low heat mode, then, all at once, it struck. EMP pulses fried the convoy's electronics. In moments, 3 ships went dark. Then the Vela launched guided torpedoes, deadly and silent. Explosions bloomed in the dark like stars being born. That's when the real trap was sprung. Karnak's dreadnoughts decloaked, forming a wall of steel and fire. Beams of plasma rained down on the Vela. It shuddered under the assault, shields flickering, metal groaning. We are caught, Lena shouted. 9 ships locking targets. Rick didn't flinch. Let the beast loose. The Phoenix drive roared. Power surged through the ship like blood through veins. Auto turrets activated, tracking targets in every direction. Defense drones launched from hidden compartments. Railguns fired in rapid succession, punching holes through enemy armor. The Velo spun, dodged, struck, and adapted, as if it knew every Carnex move before they made it. Then the AI spoke, its voice deeper than before. New enemy patterns detected. Adjusting velocity. Targeting weak points. Milo blinked. It's rewriting battle code, live. The crew barely had time to breathe. The ship flew like it was alive, weaving between blasts, returning fire with deadly precision. Two Carnex frigates collided trying to flank it. A third was sliced in half by a beam that shouldn't have existed. New tech. The Vela had grown from stolen data and alien cores. When the smoke cleared, 7 Carnex ships were gone, the others fled. Rick stood on the bridge, chest rising with slow breaths. He looked around at his crew, tired, bruised, but standing. We were the prey, he said softly. Now we are the nightmare. The Vela drifted through the debris field. Flames flickered. The stars were quiet again, and somewhere deep in the Carnex command network, panic had begun to spread. The rise of the monster news of the failed ambush spread through Carnex space like wildfire. 7 ships destroyed. 2 disabled. 1 dreadnought missing. The enemy they thought was dead, the Vela, was very much alive. Worse, it had become a force they didn't understand. They couldn't predict it. Couldn't stop it. Couldn't hide from it. Back on the Vela, Rick stood at the center of the bridge, quiet as the crew worked around him. The ship was no longer just patched up, it had evolved. Entire corridors had been remade by the ship's own AI systems. Using alien materials recovered from fallen enemies, every section of the Vela now pulsed with energy. Every weapon hummed with power. It no longer resembled any human ship ever built. It was something more. A hybrid. A ghost. A monster, and it belonged to Earth. A message blinked on Lena's screen, incoming transmission. Carnex High Command. Rick raised an eyebrow. Put it through. A crackling image appeared, one of the Carnex generals. His face was pale, his eyes wide with tension. We recognize your vessel, the general said slowly. We request terms. There's no need for further conflict. Rick didn't respond for a long moment. Then he leaned forward. You ambushed a peaceful ship. Killed dozens of my crew. And now you want peace. We miscalculated, the general replied, his voice thin. You were not what we expected. Rick's voice turned to ice. No. We weren't. You tried to break us. But all you did was build something stronger. The general opened his mouth, but Rick had already cut the feed, broadcast to all fleets in range. Rick said to Lena. This is Captain Rick. Of the human warship Vela. To any who strike at Earth or her people, know this. He paused, eyes locked on the stars beyond the glass. You won't be facing a ship. You'll be facing a monster we forged from fire, steel, and vengeance. In the months that followed, the Vela became a legend. Pirate fleets vanished without trace. Invading forces turned back at the whisper of its name. And in deep space, the Carnex pulled back from dozens of systems, hoping to avoid another encounter. The humans had not just survived, they had changed the balance of power. They had shown the galaxy that Earth was no longer weak, because when enemies came to destroy a human ship, humanity rebuilt it into a galactic beast, and the galaxy would never forget it.